Verb tenses in English. Lesson 2. Simple present.
You just heard Eric, my friend and neighbor, play an unusual instrument. Now I'd like you to listen to a conversation between Eric and me. Pay attention to our use of verbs. After you're done listening, I'll ask some questions to check your understanding. So Eric, thank you for inviting me to your workshop.
Sure.
And I have to ask, what is this? What is it called?
This is the new. It is a chromatic didgeridoo that I invented.
A chromatic didgeridoo. What does that mean?
It means it's a cross between a didgeridoo and a saxophone.
I know what a saxophone is. I'm not sure I know what a didgeridoo is.
A didgeridoo is an instrument from Australia that's made out of a hollowed out tree.
A hollowed out tree. This is a traditional didgeridoo.
This is a traditional didgeridoo.
Okay, but then how is your didgeridoo different from the traditional didgeridoo? I mean, I see differences, but what's the difference in sound? How does it sound different?
This instrument has just one note, and I can play it for you. One fundamental note.
Okay.
And this instrument,
That is so cool.
this instrument has many different keys, and I can play all kinds of different notes on it.
That is way cooler.
Well, thank you.
Let's see how much you remember from the conversation. What does Eric call his instrument? He calls it the new. He said, "This is the new." Okay. Which two instruments is the new similar to? Do you remember? Eric explains that the new is a cross between the didgeridoo and the saxophone. Okay, next question. Where does the didgeridoo come from? Which country? A traditional didgeridoo comes from Australia. Last question. What makes Eric's chromatic didgeridoo different from a traditional didgeridoo? The chromatic didgeridoo has many keys, like a saxophone. So let's talk about the verbs. Is, comes, has. These are all examples of the simple present. Why do we use the simple present in these sentences? This is the new. It's a cross between the didgeridoo and the saxophone. It comes from Australia. It has many keys. These are all facts. And stating present facts or general truths is one of the most common reasons for using the simple present. Let's talk about other reasons. Now look at these two examples. I see Eric and his family very often. I'm very comfortable when I talk to Eric. The purpose of these statements isn't really to state a fact or express a general truth. Here, I'm explaining an activity that happens very often. I see Eric and his family very often. So we use the simple present to talk about repeated activities, repeated events. It could be habits or just things that occur often. In the second example, I'm very comfortable. How do I feel? Comfortable. I'm using the simple present to talk about a feeling, a state, a condition. When do I have this feeling? When I talk to Eric. I'm using the simple present to refer to the activity of talking in general. So when I talk to him, and when I've talked to him in the past, and probably when I will talk to him in the future, there's this feeling of comfort. I'm comfortable. So for a general reference to an activity that occurred in the past, occurs still now, and will occur in the future, we can use the simple present. And we'll use the simple present for states, present conditions. And we could also say for usual states, usual conditions.
Once again, we use the simple present to state facts and general truths. Present habits. Activities and events that happen frequently or regularly. And present or usual states, feelings, and conditions. Let's also take a moment to review form. As you know, the simple present can look the same as the base form of the verb, but we usually add an s or es to form the third person singular. For example, I write, you write, he writes. I teach, they teach, she teaches. And we add that es ending when the final consonant sound is a hissing sound or a sound with friction, like ch, sh, x, z, th. And our final example, fly. I fly, we fly, it flies. We change a y to an I when that y follows a consonant. The y changes to an I and then we add es. Some verbs have irregular forms. They must be learned. Let's review the present forms of be, do, and have. I am, you are, she, he is, we are, they are. I do, you do, she, he does. We do, they do. I have, you have, she, he has. We have, they have. The negative is formed with the helping verbs don't, doesn't, plus the base verb. For example, I don't like that kind of music. He doesn't play the trumpet. Short answers to yes-no questions also use helping verbs, do, does. For example, do you like loud music? Yes, I do. Or, no, I don't.
Let's try an exercise. Because I think most of you watching this video have a high level of English, we won't focus on how to form the simple present because I think you're pretty good at that already. Instead, we'll focus on when and why we use this verb tense.
Practice. Identify the reason for using the simple present. I'll show you a statement. You tell me the reason. 1. The school always has a holiday concert in December. Why do we use the simple present? The concert is a regular event. 2. A piano has 88 keys. Why do we use the simple present? Because this is a fact. 3. Lucas is happiest when he plays the guitar. What are the reasons for using the simple present here? Well, Lucas is happiest. That expresses a feeling, a state. When he plays the guitar, that refers to an activity that happens frequently or regularly. 4. A cello player sits to play. Why do we use the simple present here? This refers to a truth, a fact. 5. Gwen wears the same necklace at every performance for good luck. Why do we use the simple present here? We're talking about her habit.
Well, that's all for this lesson. Thanks for joining me. I hope you'll continue to watch this series to learn about the other verb tenses in English. Happy studies!